Hi everyone, welcome back to this week's Technical Insights. Global equity markets got off to a very strong start for the second half of 2024. Most global stock indices also managed to end off a first positive week for the second half as S&P 500 and the Nasdaq Composite Index reached all-time high. The S&P 500 rally this year has grown to 16.7%, and the Nasdaq Composite Index year-to-date gain has swelled to 22%. Widely monitored labor data released on last Friday reflected a 206,000 increase in non-farm payrolls in June, but unemployment rate rose to 4.1% versus economists' expectation of 4%. Investors hiked their bets on a September interest rate cut, with the odds of a quarter-point cut increasing to about 77%, up from the 64% a week ago, according to Fed Fund futures pricing. Before we go further, let's take a quick look at how global markets have ended last Friday. Our Singapore Straits Times Index was down 29 points or 0.85%. In Asia, Hong Kong Hang Seng Index fell 228 points or 1.27%, while Japan Nikkei 225 Index was flat on Friday. In the US, the Dow advanced 67 points or 0.17%. The S&P 500 added 30 points or 0.54%. Nasdaq Composite Index gained the most by 164 points or 0.9%. Tesla rose more than 2%, posting a whopping week-to-date gain of about 27%, while Apple shares jumped more than 2% to a new all-time high on Friday. Nvidia slid nearly 2% following a rare Wall Street downgrade, which cited limited upside for the chip maker. The stock is still up about 1.9% for the whole of last week. On the weekly view, the Dow rose 257 points or 0.66% to finish at 39,375 points. The S&P 500 gained about 106 points or 1.95% for the period to 5,567 points, posting a record close as the latest job reports reignite the hopes of a rate cut. Tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite Index jumped 620 points for the week, or 3.5% to 18,352 points, also a record close as the tech rally continues. The downward revision to the prior months of the non-farm payroll data and the rise in unemployment rate raised the odds of a September rate cut, and bond markets are definitely celebrating this. In Asia, Hong Kong Hang Seng Index gained 81 points or 0.46% on the week to close at 17,799 points. The Hang Seng Tech Index added 42 points or 1.19% for the period to 3,596 points. The EU announced new tariffs on electric cars from China, slamming the brakes on a sector which is seeking new markets in the backdrop of a bruising price war at home. Geely Auto tumbled 3.1% to Hong Kong dollars 8.43, and BYD dropped as much as 1.5% before clawing back the losses to end flat on Friday. Week to date, our STI index jumped 78 points or 2.34% to finish at 3,410 points. This is one of the best performing weeks in the STI this year, and the index managed to touch a new year-to-date high at 3,442 points, a level we have not seen since February 2022. Some of the big winners we saw last week were the trio of local banks DBS, UOB, and OCBC, with Citrum and Singtel rounding up the top 5 gainers. So let's move to the charts to analyze some of our banking counters this week. First, let's have a look at DBS. DBS share price has been on a very strong uptrend since the beginning of the year. Year to date, DBS share price is up about 25%, and for the past 1 week, the share was up about 4.55% compared to STI 2.3% weekly gain. The recent rise in the bank stock price was likely a result of a renewed focus on the higher for longer interest rate environment. Following their outperformance in the last couple of months, the local banking trio now make up about 45% of the STI index by market cap, with DBS comprising of 1/5 of the benchmark index. Our local banking stocks may also rise further in the coming weeks as the second quarter results were released. And the growth drivers for the banks continue to be stable net interest income, loan growth recovery, and double-digit growth in fee income. Looking at the chart of DBS, we can see that the stock has been trending strongly using the 20-day moving average, which is the white line that you see here, also the Bollinger Band basis. Last week, the stock price breached the upper bound of the Bollinger Band, now at $37.69. and had a pullback to a last Friday closing price of $37.42. Indicators-wise, we saw a subsiding of the uptrend from the MACD indicator. The RSI also breached the 70-point overbought mark last week, hitting a high of 80 points. The latest reading on RSI on Friday has come back down to the 68-point level, also indicating a subsiding of the uptrend momentum. Observing the RSI, we can see that DBS share price usually consolidates around the 50-point mark reading on the RSI indicator. So a return back to the 50-point reading would be a good time to accumulate on DBS shares again. So overall, traders and investors may use the 20 days moving average, which is the white line that you see here, now around the $36 level, to accumulate on DBS Bank share price when the RSI is close to the 50-point RSI reading again. Next, let's take a look at OCBC Bank. OCBC was the second best weekly performer among the three banks last week, gaining about 3.9% compared to the 2.3% advance in the STI. Year-to-date, OCBC share price is up about 18%. From the chart, we can see that OCBC share price usually have a strong rebound when it touched the 50 days moving average, which is the amber line that you see over here, especially during the March and June period. The amber line now is reading at $14.28, and that is compared to the white line, which is the 20 days moving average, now at $14.42. The rise in OCBC stock price has also breached the upper bound of the Bollinger Band last week at $15.03. Indicators-wise, we also saw a subsiding of the uptrend according to the MACD indicator. The RSI has also breached the 70-point overbought mark last week to hit a high of 76-point reading on Thursday. The latest reading on the RSI on Friday has come back down to the 68-point reading, also an indication that the uptrend is now subsiding. Observing the RSI, we can see that OCBC share price usually consolidates just below the 50-point neutral mark reading. So a return below the 50-point neutral mark would be a good time to accumulate on OCBC share price again. So overall, traders and investors can use the 50 days moving average, which is the amber line that you see here, now around the $14.28 level, to accumulate OCBC shares again when the RSI breaches below the 50-point mark reading. And these are the updates that I have for you this week. If you do find this information useful, do remember to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with the latest market developments. And I'll see you next week in the next Technical Insight.